Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we are going to be talking about episode 1 of the Aztecs from the first season of Doctor Who with the first Doctor. And episode 1, again, it's hard to really judge things off of just the first part of the story, but I kind of like, since I'm watching this story for the first time, I kind of like to give my thoughts as I go on it. There's some good and some bad. The bad is more the technical side. Some of the camera work, oof. There's I remember there's one shot at the end when the camera's zooming in and it kind of dips for a second, and I'm like, I guess they just couldn't reshoot that. And some of the other camera pans, they look like stuff my friends and I did when we made our own little goofy martial arts movies back in like junior high and high school. That kind of it's about the same skill set there with some of the camera work. Some of it's fine, but some of it's definitely, and then it pans down to this for no reason. I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, ooh. And then some of it is, maybe some of the restoration that's been done for the story. I don't know if it's been run through VidFire or not, but there is a blurring that takes place at times when people are moving, they're turning their heads and they're walking. There's this blurring I see happen. I remember as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, they're going to need to touch this up for the Blu-ray. Now, I know some of the stories exist in better quality than others. Like, some of these they're two types of copies. I can't remember what they are. They both start with S, and one is inferior to the other. Because I do a lot of research reading about 60s Doctor Who and the Pertwee era, because just missing episodes and how they're recovered and how they exist fascinate me. All of that fascinates me. I find it intriguing. And I know like one version of some of the early 60s ones that exist are superior versions to others because of the way they were copied. And that all fascinates me. So some of it in places, it looks a little rough. Some of the acting is really good. Hartnell is great in this. I absolutely love Hartnell as this. He is just, at all points, he is on par. I enjoy everything he does here. And Jacqueline Hill is really good in this episode. I'm really buying her here. Just kind of her determination right here, which I get, where there will be no sacrificing people today. I'm behind that one too. We're going to sacrifice someone in your honor. I'm okay. I'm on board with that. The guest actors are doing fine. Susan hasn't started annoying me yet as well. Susan's not annoying yet. That's neat and impressive in and of itself. The guest cast, there's that one guy. He's kind of the more good high priest. There's one point at the end where he just seems like he runs out of interest right as he's talking. Like he's talking to the crowd, and then he turns around, and whatever it is he says when he turns around sounds like one long run-on word, da 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 da, in your presence, or whatever it is he says. I forget right there, but it's like a sentence, but he says it all as like it's one word with no spaces between the letters. Da 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 da. I can't even remember what it was he said, and he just sounded like he lost complete interest right there in the line. He's like, can I just be done with this episode? It's almost over, right? But I was enjoying it. I like the backdrops, the little canvases they have, which are obviously, backdrops, painting, canvases, whatever. They look really good, especially I like when the Doctor's in the garden and that little backdrop of like the temple or whatever behind him looked really good. I was really impressed with how the scenery and the set design looked on this. I liked that a lot. I'm enjoying the kind of moral questions this raises with interfering with other cultures. And of course it has that scene that got me interested in the Aztecs in the first place, that scene when the Doctor talks to Barbara about changing history. That bit about, you can't change history, not one line. And then he says that other guy, I implore you one last time, what you are trying to do is impossible. I know. Believe me. I know. I love the way Hartnell delivers that line. There is a vulnerability to him there that we don't see with the first Doctor. And in my mind, knowing everything that's come later, the way I perceive that is this is a man who has tried to do that. This really ties in with 10th Planet and Twice Upon a Time, where I always think of the first Doctor as when he was younger. He went around trying to make a difference and do all that. For some reason, it just didn't work. Or sometimes maybe he even caused the disaster he was trying to avert. And at some point, he just became embittered about it and kind of stopped. It just somehow, he stopped trying. He just couldn't do it. It didn't work. And so when you hear the almost pain in his voice when he says that line, Because he goes from the being stern, I implore you one last time, what you're trying to do is impossible. And it cuts to that, I know. Believe me, I know. And there's almost a pleading there. There is a vulnerability in the tone of his voice and the look on Hartnell's face that we do not see with the First Doctor, especially with the First Doctor, very often. Almost like he's imploring her. You know, you can't do this. I've tried. Trust me, it doesn't work. And I like how the camera stays on that shot of his face for a second. You can almost see the, I don't think anguish would be too strong of words, but the kind of sadness maybe? I don't quite know the word I'm looking for there, but you can tell that the way I perceive that moment is this is someone who wishes he could change all that, but he's tried it, it didn't work, and he's kind of given up on it. It wouldn't be until later, toward the end of his run with like 10th Planet. I think that's one of the reasons maybe why in 10th Planet he's trying so hard to save things. Because like I've mentioned in another video, a friend of mine has a theory that originally the events of 10th Planet played out differently, but the Doctor prevented that. And that's how the Doctor knows in 10th Planet everything that's going on with it being another planet, because he knows it from history. And that he actually changes history there, so Earth comes out much better. And then, of course, we have the events of Twice Upon a Time, where he sees how the Doctor makes a difference. And that's why the second Doctor is much more into getting involved, even in Power of the Daleks, why he doesn't leave. He has to stay there and fix things. Why in the moon base he can't leave. We can't leave, Jamie. There's evil here. Or whatever he says. We can't leave. There's evil here. And he makes his speech about some corners of the universe is because he realizes he can change things and makes things better. But I think we see a glimpse of that here, of how he wishes he could change things, but he can't. And I love that scene. It's one of my favorite moments with the First Doctor. And again, that could be just me retroactively putting that into my headcanon. But if you actually watch the scene, it fits. All of that fits of the Doctor being really vulnerable there. And I love that moment. The episode itself is good. I was kind of uninterested up to that point. Like the first 17 or 18 minutes, it was just kind of meh. It had things I liked. Again, like Hartnell's performance throughout the whole episode is great. Barbara's performance throughout the whole episode is great. But I just wasn't quite engaging with the story. But once that moment happened, and there was about 5 minutes left in the episode, I was pretty on board for the rest of the episode. And I'm looking forward to watching the second episode. So I'm not quite chomping at the bit at it, because I know a lot of people like the Aztecs. But I'm not disappointed in it yet either. So I'm going to watch episode 2 and kind of find out where we go from there. So that's been my thoughts on episode 1 of the Aztecs. I would like to know what you think of the story just at episode 1, if you can mentally separate in your head what episode 1 is. So let me know what you think. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I want to give a special shout out to one of my subscribers, Steve Knievel, who actually sent me the Aztecs. He sent it to my P.O. box as a present for me, my very first piece of fan mail. I appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, the 5th Doctor and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their support and the support of all of my patrons and all of my subscribers. I have a link to my Patreon down in the description below. My entry level tier is only $2 a month, if that interests anyone. My P.O. box is down there as well, if there's anything you would like to send me to unbox and review. And a link to my Amazon wish list is down there as well, if you would like to send me anything that way. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.